Hey everybody, welcome to our final Demon Darkblood boss ranking, but this time I'm not ranking the quality, you are. We've received nearly 6,000 votes on our survey for the top 10 best and worst bosses in the Souls series chosen by the fans. Today we'll be going over your list of the most dreadful, horrible, mind-numbingly terrible boss creations you've ever had to suffer through. Let's kick things off with number 10. This is one of those rankings we can definitely agree on. Astan says, my least favorite fight from the whole series is probably Magus Prowler and Congregation. Magus Prowler because I'm honestly just baffled why they're even in the game. Like, they just shouldn't be there. It's just a boss randomly in the middle of a level. The only thing that makes it a boss is the fact that there's a health bar at the bottom. Well, I mean, come on, we can give it a little more credit than Prowling Magus and Congregation is just an army of trash mobs with music playing over the fight. To be serious, it's totally true. This boss is one of the best examples of Dark Souls 2's issues with garbage bosses bloating the game. Let's take a look at the other games in the series, not counting their DLC. Demon Souls, 18 bosses. Dark Souls, 22 bosses. Dark Souls 3, 19 bosses. Bloodborne, 17 bosses, not including the Chalice bosses. And Dark Souls 2, fucking 32 bosses, man. You guys know by now, if there's one thing I love in Souls, it's a good boss fight. Emphasis on good. You can't just stick basic enemies in a small room and call it a boss battle. Well, I guess you can, but that doesn't make it enjoyable whatsoever. When your experience in playing through the game would actually be improved by the removal of a boss, you know the developer went wrong. Number 9, and we're still with Dark Souls 2. It makes you wonder how many will be on this list. Let's hand it over to Raj for the epic battle breakdown. We all know that the Covetous Demon is hands down the best designed boss in the series for his lightning slow attacks, crushingly minimal damage, and awe-inspiringly dumb lore. Well, that sums it up pretty well, though I gotta say the reason he ended up higher on my list is because I found his lore so hilariously enjoyable. I'd also argue that he does decent damage, but due to his lightning slow attacks, you're very unlikely to fall victim to them. So I'm not sure if I personally agree with putting the Covetous Demon as this bad. Thank God Cameron agrees with me. Covetous Demon in top 10. Someone has to show him some love. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely fucking hate the Curse-Rotted Greatwood. You're not alone, friend. Funny enough, you may have noticed that somehow, someway, you actually managed to have a tie in the top 10. What are the odds of that? Well, for the tiebreaker, I went with the boss which I rated as worst, and that has to be the Greatwood. Curse-Rotted Greatwood is also a terrible boss. All he does is turn, stomp, and sit around in acid diarrhea while dropping cysts on you. Excuse me while I go vomit. Seriously, I know I described the boss in explicit detail in the rankings, but just bleh, so damn disgusting. You know, everyone seems to like the dancers behind, but I can't resist the Greatwood's ball sacks. I've talked about it at length already. What makes this boss shitty? It's gross, it's boring, and it's nightmare fuel. And I'm happy to say I never have to talk about it ever again. So, my main complaint of this boss is that it's boring, and when doing a search through for your comments, I think people must have agreed. I could barely find any comments directly related to the butterfly. Here's the best I found. Best bosses, Moonlight sleeps. It's boring, everybody. My opinion is legit. You can't stop me. For real though, look at what happened when I searched Moonlight. Most were talking about the Moonlight Greatsword from the epic Ludwig fight, but then I landed on, will you do top 10 waifus in the series? This isn't what I asked for at all. But yes, that list is totally happening. So is top 10 Souls booties. Just you wait. Let's see if we can find anything else. Moonlight butter doesn't fly, you idiot.
Moonlight butter doesn't fly, you idiot. Moonlight butter doesn't fly, you idiot.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
So this one I guess I disagreed with a bit. The only reason I gave the Vanguard any credit whatsoever is I like rat smashing. And apparently Edgar agrees. Royal Rat Vanguard, best boss, 10 out of 10. Let it be known, everybody, that Edgar Alvarado's favorite boss is Royal Rat Vanguard. Cookie Cookerson doesn't quite feel the same way though. Easily the worst boss for me personally is the Royal Rat Vanguard. Every time I walk into Royal Rat Vanguard, I think, God damn it, do I really have to do this? No, you don't. It's 100% off. It's an awful fight with awful design, an awful look, and overall awful everything. That sums it up, ladies and gentlemen in attack helicopters. Awful. Clearly this is the boss we disagreed on the most here. I rated the Deacons as a bit below average, while most of you think this boss is a steaming pile of 10 out of 10 best boss in the world. Wait, what? Didn't you hear me? Deacons are 10 out of 10 best boss ever. Deacons MVP. Deacons are too OP, FromSoft please nerf. Deacons are pretty damn good, but can't hold a candle to Prowling, Magus, and Congregation. I see what you did there. I do too. I know all you memesters are just joshing, and it's easy to see why. This boss is the punchline of many of the difficulty jokes. But let's get a more serious take on this. Good God! Zoom! Enhance! After fighting through a cathedral fit to hold giants, finding a church choir as the boss was a real letdown. This may be partially my fault, as I was hoping to meet Aldrich there. You know, that's actually a really good point. I was thinking the same thing when I got there, and it was kind of jarring being met by the Pope gankers. So I can definitely see that angle, and if you look at it from the perspective that easy is bad, this boss definitely deserves to be here. This is another boss that is so offensively easy and boring that there were almost no comments. I'm not even joking. I'm only gonna highlight one comment because it says all you need to know. I feel like they should have tried the Storm Ruler gimmick on a throwaway boss like the Ancient Wyvern or something. That's right, it's not even a comment about the Wyvern, they're talking about Yorm. I just love how Red Wings Fan 920 refers to the boss as a throwaway. Like, please, FromSoft, couldn't you have just shoved your fan service in with this worthless piece of garbage? What else is there to say? It's a one-hit KO fight that focuses more on killing basic enemies and an axe chain god than an actual boss battle. Let's go from calm and rational to full-on conspiracy. Worst boss in my mind is the Royal Rat Authority. First, the big guy is barely even a rat. Second, why are there two rat horde bosses in the same game? Lastly, these rats are even worse than the first gank. It becomes a game of if they poison you, you die, but if you've survived the first 30 seconds, the big guy is a piece of cake. Much praise, my Keru, it is a perfect description of what sucks about this boss. Overall, a pile of garbage. But let's get a second opinion. Let's talk about the Royal Rat Authority. Okay, no wait, the Royal Rat I hate this boss because it's a shitty Sith and those motherfucking toxic rats. Fuck the Rat King. Well, I can't argue with the Royal Rat Authority is a disgusting fake. He is not really a rat. Stop trying to be a rat. He's not even wrong. This shit is a dog, people, and I think I'm seeing a connection here. Third worst fan voted boss, and it's a dog. And when thinking about what the worst enemies are in Souls, fuck dogs! Pinwheel. Think about that for a minute. Pinwheel is the worst. He's actually not a pin in a wheel. Fuck Pinwheel, that is all. I am ashamed to admit that I got stuck on Pinwheel. His stupid clone spam fills the arena with attacks and my slow as hell character gets worn down. If I tried to use a lighter character, I just die quicker. That's why I think Pinwheel was the worst. He swarms you with clones, which I think is unfair. Okay, Pinwheel is obviously the butt of a lot of jokes. His fight is more of a small speed bump than anything else. I ranked him a bit better on my own list, but I can't really argue with his placement here. I'm not a big fan of basing bosses' quality heavily on their difficulty, but when the boss fight is over on most occasions in under 30 seconds, that's just straight up, without question, the pinnacle of boss design in video games. Bed of Chaos is the best boss, hands down. Ludwig, on the other hand, is fucking dreadful. Seriously, did anyone think it was gonna be any other boss in the #1 spot? Think about this, those of you who took the survey were more likely to vote for the Bed of Chaos than not vote for it. The closest boss to it had 1,000 less votes. And apparently, if there were no restrictions, some of you might have voted multiple times for it. Let's get right into the race. My #1 hated boss is the Bed of Chaos because fuck its needlessly large branches that jam me in its holes. So mean. LOL, thanks DMod for the amazing content and giving your community a voice to speak. Well, I don't see anything wrong here. A comment that trashes the Bed of Chaos and inflates my monstrous ego. I just want to make one thing clear. The Bed of Chaos was without a doubt the hardest, most unfair, most annoying, brutal, expensive, throwing my controller at the wall, disappointing, raging rigid, unreasonable boss in the whole damn series. Thank you for caring about the community. I love your YouTube channel and keep doing what you're doing. No, you. Stop it. Okay, let's get serious for a minute. My least favorite boss in the series is easily the Bed of Chaos because it's a shitty representation of the Witch of Izalith. It's not fun in any way. The design of the area is only there to artificially boost the boss's difficulty, and the worm, really? That just about sums up this bed of garbage in our list for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed going through your choices for the worst bosses in Blood Souls with me. For our outro today, I'm going to show you some interesting stats on the screen for each game. For Demon Souls, the worst boss was the Dragon God, but on the whole, Demon Souls did not get a lot of love from voters, which I suspect is because it's likely the least played game in the series. Dark Souls received plenty of votes in comparison, but that's not surprising since it might be the most played game in the entire series. Dark Souls 2 managed an impressive feat of leading the ranks with the most average votes per respondent, despite the fact it has 41 bosses to vote for. I'll let that speak for itself. Other than the Witches of Hemwick, Bloodborne was right up there with Demon Souls for not receiving much love. Interestingly though, Bloodborne did receive a lot of love for the best bosses, so I think that really illustrates the quality of Bloodborne's bosses overall. And finally, Dark Souls 3 did receive a very large amount of votes per boss, but that's not surprising when it's the freshest in the minds of many and it has the fewest bosses in the series prior to the DLC. Anyway, I hope you guys found that at least a little bit interesting. I'm a total data nerd, so I had a blast reviewing it all. Next up is going to be your top 10 best bosses, and I'm sure that one will be a lot more serious in tone. But if you enjoyed today's goofs, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more laughs and entertainment. Also, be sure to check me out on Twitch. I'm doing solo playthroughs of all the Souls games right now, and I stream every Monday, Thursday, and Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Finally, I encourage you to follow me on Twitter for all the latest video and stream updates. And as always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.